Hey, everybody, welcome. We are going to open the show with just a quick explanation of our topic, which is hacking productivity. Aviv Grafi, let me just ask you, give me an example of how security is a hindrance to productivity.
Yeah, so one classic example would be that we're asking our employees just to make sure they're following practices and policies for every business move that they're doing. So definitely that slows them down.
Okay, Sandy, now, complete opposite. In just 15 seconds, explain to me how security can enhance productivity.
By making policies and standards easy to understand, by understanding the pains in the business, checklists, security training,
All right.
helping people.
Now, we're going to get a little tougher here on our explanations. Aviv, you're a weather forecaster. You're going to explain to me how security is going to enhance productivity. You're going to the map. Explain to me how security is going to enhance productivity as a weather forecaster.
Yeah, so today we are not going to step out of the house because we're not really sure whether you can actually exposed to that snow weather that's going to come up today. So do not leave your house today, guys.
How is that enhancing productivity, and how is security enhancing? We're going back to Sandy on this one. Sandy, if you could think of a thumbnail image of how security enhances or is a hindrance to productivity, what would be that thumbnail image? What would it be?
A thumbnail
Just like an image to describe it.
Okay.
Oh, we get a little feedback from you, Sandy. Go ahead. Try again.
I'm not sure how to help with that. So enhancing productivity would be making sure that people understand at the beginning of a project what the right security decision is. So
what does that image look like, Sandy? Hold on, I'm pausing on you. I'm going to Aviv. Aviv, what does that image look like?
That actually everyone going in the same on that path that we designed towards that goal of the business.
So we're looking at an image of a path going to a goal of the business. Yeah. I'm helping you guys out. All right, Sandy, you have to explain to a traffic cop. You're trying to get out of a ticket right now. All right, and you have to explain to the traffic cop how is security going to enhance productivity. And again, you're trying to get out of a traffic ticket.
Maybe I'm telling him that I have to go fast because I have to get somebody who's in who has a severe injury to the hospital faster. I've gotten out of a lot of tickets too. So
all right, Aviv, I'm going to have you final this one. You're on a very first date. You're explaining to your date how security enhances productivity. How are you doing that?
Oh wow. So look, we're gonna actually we're gonna run to my apartment and we're gonna follow those streets with that lightning so we can get way faster.
Oh, geez,
first date, I don't feel like I'm more secure going to your apartment.
Good point. Excellent point.
Welcome, everybody. The CISO Series video chat is ready to begin.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to today's topic of hacking productivity, an hour of critical thinking about how security can improve business operations. You just saw our two guests today, Sandy Dunn, who's the CISO of Blue Cross of Idaho, and also Aviv Grafi, who's the CTO and founder of Votiro. What do you know? Votiro is our sponsor for today's video chat. Thank you so much, Votiro, for sponsoring. Hey, guess what? There are lots of ways that you can participate. One, we have the chat room. Many of you have discovered that so far. Second, worst idea for improving business productivity, and that's specifically how security is going to improve business productivity. Two, we want you to submit, how do we make it 10% better? How can security make business productivity 10% better? We would like you to vote in the polls. You'll see a lot of those go on. You can join us on video anytime by just saying, bring me on. And Andrew, our producer, will try to bring you on, any of you on, to ask a question, make a comment, whatever you'd like. Ask a question anytime. If you see at the very bottom of the screen, there is an option to ask a question. And also you can vote for your favorite question. Hopefully you'll have lots of good questions as well. All right. I still don't get it. Actually, I should have renamed that. We haven't come up with a new game, but that was a game we just played. So we want your worst idea for improving business productivity. Label it bad idea : so we know it's a bad idea and not a good idea. And how do we make it 10% better? Label it 10%. Get your bad ideas in for the first 20 minutes to make our poll as well, because that'll go up at 20 minutes past the hour. Then we'll play another game called I Object. And hopefully our winner from last week, Carlotta Sage, is here. She said she'd be here, barring any problems. Carlotta is there. I just saw her put in a bad idea. So Carlotta, be ready for I Object at 20 minutes past the hour. And then in 30 minutes past the hour, we'll play Shoutburst, where you, the audience, you, the chat room, are going to play against our guests. Coming up with the topic is going to be common rejections of the security team. Don't write anything in now. We'll explain later. 35 minutes past the hour, we'll have the poll live, or how do we make it 10% better? And the two people who had the best bad ideas, as determined by you from the poll, will come in for a worst idea contender face-off. And then we'll have our last question and final advice. And then our meetup. Please stick around for our meetup, because that is a lot of fun, where we get to have one-on-one FaceTime with you virtually, with people there. And then lastly, let me just mention the little link at the bottom of the screen, the big rectangle at the bottom of the screen, is to register for next Friday's video chat. We would love it if you came for that. Topic is hacking email security, an hour of critical thinking of alternate ways to protect messaging. And note that you can click on that at any time, and it will not take you out of this video chat. You will still very much be in the video chat. So you can easily register for next week and still be very much here, which is what you want, what we want to do. All right, let's jump into our discussion. Thank you for all that. I heard from Aviv on this. I'm going to hear from you, Sandy, actually. How has security traditionally been a hindrance to business productivity?
We block access to websites. We restrict where they can go go and download files. Even our policy. It's a lot of times people want to do the right thing, and it's hard for them to decipher what is that right thing, because it's buried in a policy that's kind of written in unusual language.
Well, we just lost Sandy's video, but we still heard you. Do me a favor, refresh your page, Sandy, and we'll get your video back. Aviv, tell me, what would you add to that in terms of how security's traditionally been seen as a hindrance to productivity?
Yeah, so I think that, as Sandy mentioned, for example, communicating with external vendors and getting documents from them, sometimes getting blocked, and then you're not really sure who should you contact, and then you're being asked tons of questions. Were you expecting that? You should get that, and just slowing things down. So this is definitely one of the angles that that we see traditional security solutions actually hindering the productivity.
Yeah, hopefully, Andy, you saw that in the back channel. I think you may have multiple tabs open, and that's why we're getting a little bit of echo from you. And also, just refresh your page, and hopefully we'll get your image back as well. We got our first questions coming already, and this comes in from Oz Kaglayan. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Should we improve productivity in cybersecurity to improve business productivity, or only focus on business but not cybersecurity productivity? I think there should be a balance between both productivity. So we have cybersecurity productivity and then cybersecurity enhancing business productivity. Good point. Oz, what's your answer to that? And we see you back, Sandy. Nice to see you back again. Answer that one for me, Aviv.
Yeah, so I think I agree that two angles. One, making the security teams more productive means helping them dealing with the right things, not with the ongoing stuff that can probably be automated, so we can improve their productivity. Mm-hmm. And of course, as a security team, as security leaders, we need to focus on allowing the business to get going and not stopping the productivity. And because, eventually we work in an organization that most of us need to make money and not being stopping things. So yeah, there are two different things. I definitely agree with that.
So Sandy, how do you have a security team at Blue Cross of Idaho. You have a security team, and how are you sort of thinking about productivity with your team? Because obviously you're trying to make your own team productive, but then you're also like, hey, we're here to serve the business. So how do you balance that game as you're sort of, unfortunately, blinking in and out? Hopefully you heard all of that. Yes, Sandy, how do you balance all that? Sandy, are you with us? I think we lost Sandy. Sandy, you can't hear us. Check your audio settings. Unfortunately lost. All right, we're going to jump to the next question. All right. This very much plays into Votiro's game here. My next question here, and this is about file access in general.
Yeah.
Traditionally, what have we been doing security to make file access miserable? Well, Aviv, I'm sorry, going to you, Aviv.
Yeah. So traditionally we're blocking stuff coming in. We're enforcing certain policies on documents and files that we get either from email or download from the web. And I think that part of the problem is that we just narrowed the attack vectors because we didn't want to deal with some of the problems which severely affected productivity. But we know there's solutions here like the one that we're promoting, but there's some other companies that allow the users to be productive. I mean, deliver them safe versions, safe documents, so this way or another they can do their work. So definitely that thing with the file access and documents, it's been a problem for way too long.
Sandy, can you hear us now?
I can.
Okay, so we missed you on the last one. So I want to actually go back to, thank you for that description about the file access issue, and I want to come back to it. But I want to ask you the question that I was asking earlier, and I don't think you could hear me, is that you have a security team, and you are concerned about productivity for your own team, and you're also concerned about, we're here to serve the business, make the business productive. How are you sort of leading your group in that charge? And I'm assuming you are.
Oh, absolutely. We look at everything, every engagement that we have with the business. And one of the things that I really try to enhance or emphasize with my team is making sure that they understand to look from the user's perspective. Mm-hmm. A lot of times they are so focused on what they're trying to accomplish, they don't think about the fact that the person who's contacting us doesn't have the skills or understanding of why we're enforcing this. All they know is that we've made their life difficult. So my team will come to me and say, hey, this person is trying to do this. They're driving me crazy. They're trying to use local admin account on a box or something. And my response to them is, how would they know to do it any differently? Mm-hmm. Like, why do we assume that they have that information? And if you were in their shoes, how would you figure it out?
Good point. All right, let me take this back to you, Aviv. I like that what can security expect from its users? Like, they're not supposed to know every security protocol, right? So I guess it's, and we've talked about this a lot. How do we make security invisible? And how do you address that, Aviv?
Yeah, so I think there are a few things that Sandy pointed that are really important. One of the things that really think about the user, what they need to accomplish. I mean, we can say no to them. No, you're not allowed to have an admin access on the box, but eventually they need to perform that technical task that their manager asked them to accomplish. So by security approaching those business units, say, okay, what do you need to accomplish? What do you need to achieve? Maybe we can help you to work around that specific, either the specific policy, or maybe found a much better solution. So in fact, it's that you will be able to complete your task, and also will be helping the next 10 people on the organization that maybe they haven't approached the security team yet. They're just being frustrated, and then maybe they push that for next week or the next month. So I think that talking with the business, understanding what they actually need, and providing them with a solution, not with you're not allowed to do that. I think that's way, way better and healthier approach organizational wise.
All right, Steve Cobb asked a question, which I swear it's literally the perfect setup for you to explain what your product does, Aviv. But I'm going to have you answer second on this one. I'll have Sandy answer first. What would be an example? This is from Steve Cobb. Whoops, it just bounced away. What would be an example of the introduction of a security measure or tool that increases employee productivity for an organization? Just give us an example how that happens.
So I'm really focused on making the developers' lives as easy as possible. So any tool that I can give them that makes whatever they're developing secure by default, that allows us to produce code that's, secure by default. And then that reduces the amount of time we have to do testing. That reduces the time we have to do remediation. So anything we can do to enhance the CI/CD so that they can just focus on developing and it's whatever they're doing. We have enough checks and balances in place. They're given a free runway that whatever they're creating is just secure by the time it's done.
Can you give us an example, like one of the last things you just implemented, or the best thing you've implemented in that respect?
I'm
like
sorry.
Scanning, I'm assuming. Can you hear me?
Say it one more time.
So, by the way, it's possible you have multiple tabs open of Crowdcast, and that's why we're getting that echo from you. So just double check that you don't have multiple tabs of Crowdcast open. But what I was asking, if you give me an example, but you know what? Hold on to that thought as you're dealing with that. I'm going to go to Aviv and ask exactly the same question, which, by the way, again, a setup to explaining what Votiro is. Give us an example of a tool that actually enhances productivity. So tell us, what does Votiro do?
Yeah. So Votiro handles the problem of documents flowing into organization, but we all know that the existing solutions, they tend to block, quarantine, stop some of the users to really get their documents. Either they're coming by email, by email secure email gateways or email security, or uploaded to an application that someone on the other side need to open those documents. And we see that most of the cases where documents are getting blocked, there are two questions that are being asked by the security team. Have you expected that file? Do you know that sender? And the answer is always yes. And then the user just being, the work is being delayed, and the security personnel just being frustrated, just asking dumb questions and getting the same answers. And there's no security in place because the original document is flowing in. So we thought about how to solve that problem, and what we're doing, we're allowing users to get all documents that they about to receive. We're sending a replica, a safe version of those documents 100% of the times. So no matter what documents, can be Word documents, can be an archive, image, Excel spreadsheet, we're always delivering safe versions to the users. And in that way, the security team doesn't need to handle all those requests. And at the same time, the user always get their work done. They don't get the emails quarantined. They don't get documents being blocked or stored somewhere. So in that way, we don't need to balance. I mean, we can have the full productivity. You can always get the file on time immediately, and the security personnel doesn't need to compromise in delivering original documents.
All right, Sandy, let me ask a completely different question here. So you talked about, which I think was great, like I want to do anything for the development team that can make them go faster and just have security be automatic about the experience. So not just the development team, and by the way, that's one great example. I'm going to state that is a darn good example, but maybe just advice for the audience of how can security better demonstrate that they are actually on the side of the business, because it's often a complaint a little bit. So how do you show that? How do you, Sandy, and your team saying, hey, we are actually on your side. We want you to come to us. We're here to make things better for you. What is it that you do to make that clear?
So one of the most successful things that I started within our organization was a security guild. A place where security and developers and people in testing meet and talk about our common goals and then bring it all up on the table. Like, what are you guys having problems with? What can we help you with? Do you need better information from us? Like a clear-cut checklist that they can walk through using tools like the OWASP ASVS to be able to create security requirements from. Like anything you can do to push it to the left so that it's secure by default. I'm plugging into the tools that they use, using GitLab tools, SonarQube. So by the time they get to their job, it's secure by default. I believe in training. I absolutely do a lot of training within our team, but I'm also realistic about the fact that they're a developer. That's their skill set. They're working not only on, they're trying to extend their skills, and they've got to focus on that. I'm not going to be able to train them in all to be perfect security professionals. That's my job, to make sure that they're getting the tools and resources to be able to develop securely.
All right, we're at time to play our game. So let's invite Carlotta Sage in, and we're going to be playing I Object. Thank you very much for that answer. Sandy. And by the way, we got lots more questions coming in. Please ask your questions. I see another good one came in. And by the way, we're going to throw up the poll as well for all these bad ideas that have come in. So thank you. And we're going to want you to vote for that as well. So get up the poll, invite Carlotta as well. I am going to now explain this game, I Object, hopefully in the quickest way possible. While I'm doing that, if you haven't clicked on the link, there is Carlotta. Good to see you, the winner of the best
Carlotta.
Carlotta. Oh my God.
Carlotta.
Thank you for correcting me.
That's all right. My best friend yelled at me for not correcting her for 20 years.
And I'm assuming the last name is pronounced Sagi. Yes?
That was that one really is Sage. Although I am told that Sage is a very common Japanese last name.
Oh, is it? All right.
Anyway.
Carlotta. Thank you for correcting me on that.
Sure.
All right. Carlotta, meet Aviv, meet Sandy. The three of you are going to be playing I Object.
Carlotta
Aviv,
and I are
you're
friends, David.
Well, I'm sorry, what?
We're friends already.
Oh, you're excellent. That's
Yeah.
good to hear. Aviv. Aviv is going to begin by explaining how they're going to make the business how security is going to make the business more productive. That is our subject of discussion. How security is going to make the business more productive. At any time, Sandy or Carlotta, you may interrupt Aviv by saying, I object. Find any reason to object with them whatsoever. And then I will say, what's your objection? And you'll explain what your objection. Don't go into the whole thing. Just say, explain the objection. Wait till I say sustained or overruled, and then you will continue on. Every time you say I object, and up until the point where I say sustained or overruled, the time is paused. The goal is to be the one talking into the microphone when the 1 minute buzzer hits. Andrew, hit that buzzer. Let's hear what it sounds like. It'll sound like that. Okay? So, everyone understand the game? Here's my big piece of advice. Do not be polite. I cannot stress that enough. Do not be polite. Feel free to interrupt. The goal is we want the cycle to go back and forth. All right, seems too legalistic that Larry says. It isn't too legalistic. I have no law degree whatsoever. But I am playing a judge. Aviv, are you ready to start the clock, Andrew? Andrew, here we go. Aviv, as soon as I'm finished talking, start the clock. Aviv, explain to me how security is going to enhance productivity. Begin.
Perfect. So security can definitely increase productivity as we're allowing users to get the documents they need to have and work on without stopping them.
Okay, objection. What's your objection, Carlotta?
We often over-classify our documentation, even outside of the military. We try to make everything not public.
Okay, sustained. Continue. Keep going.
And I think the best way to get around that is to work on the classification of data and really simplify your model for sharing information, both internally and externally, because there's no faster way to kill productivity than to silo information. And then you're also killing the business.
Okay, pause. What's your objection, Aviv?
Classification of documents, the tedious task that will, make everyone way more nervous and frustrated.
Sustained. Keep going.
Yeah. So instead of just classifying documents, let's allow the documents, once we sanitize them, making sure that the users are getting them immediately without the need to get.
Hold it. What's your objection, Carlotta?
I object. I wasn't talking about classifying or the documents. I was talking about making them more accessible, declassifying them, reducing the
sustained.
number.
Keep going.
Right. Okay, so that you can be more collaborative, both internally and externally. You have partners, you have customers, you have internal users. They all need information, and we try to keep everything inside.
I object.
Okay, what's your objection?
External vendors, and we still need to make sure that data does not get leaked into the outside. So we cannot allow all of them to get it. Yeah.
Keep going.
But by making sure that our internal employees are getting everything they need to be productive.
Aviv wins. Congratulations, Aviv. And Sandy seems to agree with everything.
It was interesting just talking to everybody because I think what you saw from this conversation was how complex it is.
Good point.
And it's independent of the business, right? It's what is your risk profile? Like Carlotta is saying, well, I want to free everything up, but I tend to be, and it's all business unique, but I'm with Aviv. I want to be, we have a low risk tolerance. So I'd rather be more restrictive and put better control gates that make it, at least we can check and then make sure it goes out. Because if the wrong information goes out, that's a huge impact to our business.
All right. Good point. All right. Thank you very much, Carlota Sage. Thank you so much. That was great. We're going to have to teach Sandy how to be less polite in the future. I think we'll have to do.
Yeah, or a faster thinker.
You think playing fast. All right. The best bad idea poll is up, everybody. If you have not voted on that yet, which many of you have not, please get in there and vote. And what we will do is I will soon announce the winner of that. And we are going to play in 5 minutes. We'll play our next game, Shoutburst. But until then, I got some great questions. And this one I like from Matthew Thompson. I'll start with you, Aviv. And I definitely want your answer on this one too, Sandy. How does one make the case? How does one make the case for a security control while in the day-to-day may cause a minute loss? My guess probably more than a minute loss in productivity. I mean, it's very difficult sometimes to implement a security control that will have no loss of productivity, but it prevents a major loss in productivity or just a major loss but prevents a major loss in the event of a breach. Well, actually, it would also be a loss in productivity. So how do you make the argument for, like, we're doing this for security purposes. I know it's going to slow you down a little bit, but we have to do this. Like, how do you make the case for that without them getting all annoyed?
So you're asking me to do something that generally I'm not in favor.
So you're not in favor of this.
But
so are you, like, security can always keep the productivity going, and and not even slow it down a little bit?
Well, I think that's what we need to really be thinking about. We don't need to be the cops. We don't need to be the bad guys. We need to really allow the business to flow and still be compliant and still be protecting the company's assets. So, but if I need to introduce a new security control, I will probably need to think what will be the impact, and if there will be such an impact, what we would do to reduce that significantly. How do we monitor that impact, and what will be the alternative? So if I completely need to have that control, maybe have a control with some additional mechanism to make sure that we're not changing the user's behavior. They're not getting frustrated. Maybe we can add another layer to that, maybe explaining why we're doing that. And maybe in a year time frame, there are new controls in the market that can really change that dynamics, and we can really, be complying and without any productivity loss.
Sandy,
I'm going to say that slowing us putting a security control that only caused a minute delay would be so well received, because a lot of our security controls are much longer, in the hours and days. So that would be highly, well received within our environment.
Okay, so let's talk about the ones that are hours and days. I'm assuming you're trying to minimize those, yes?
Oh, absolutely. We're always looking at ways to increase productivity, but I also want to dial it back and say this isn't unique to our industry. I mean, you look at mining, car manufacturing, any industry that is involved with safety has had to look across their business and say, okay, the outcome, any kind of an incident has a much bigger impact than taking a few extra steps to put on our hard hat, do all those checks and things. And I think what we want to do moving forward is look at other industries and say, how did they maximize implementing security controls to benefit productivity? I think there's a lot of opportunity. And your question to me was, how do we engage with the business? Constantly. Like, what can we do better to make you more effective? Because that benefits us all on the back end, right? Especially around remediation or breach or stuff.
But often they don't know what that security control needs to be. I mean, you're the one who has the visibility into it than they do. Like, their attitude, I'm assuming, is just stay out of our hair. Yeah, Aviv, you're nodding.
Yeah, I think that a good question to ask them is to ask them really, what slows you down? What are the policies that really slows you down? They should know about that, because someone there is bitching about that, I'm pretty sure. So that's a valid question to ask, and according to the answer, let's try to solve that.
By the way, hold on. I just want to.
Or not doing it, or not following the policy, because all of a sudden,
I'm sure you get that all the time.
Shadow IT is frustrated people that are trying to get a job done because they have pressure on them, and they're just they have objectives that they're being asked to meet. So any of those problems, you want to deep dive into those, because that's where you get your answers. That's where you get the opportunities to improve the productivity.
By the way, we have it's 10:30. We're going to start playing our next game, but we only got one 10% tip in there. So I'm assuming people have tips for security to improve productivity. So please get your 10% tips in there. And now we're going to play the game where you, the audience, are playing along as well. All right, I have to turn on this giant clock up behind me. All right, whoops, that's not the image we want to see. We want to see that image there. That's our 1 minute clock right there. And what's going to happen here? Let me go to the side so you can actually see the 00. You don't need to see the 1. But here's what's going to happen. I have a top 10 list. 10 main complaints that the business gives on security, all right? Here's what's going to happen is the audience, don't type in anything yet. The audience will have exactly 60 seconds, as will my two guests. I want you, my two guests, to shout as much as you can, not reading what's being put in the chat room, but just shout at the top of your lungs, or don't have to be top of your lungs, but just shout it out over a minute and tell me, what do you think are the top complaints that people have security? I will check them off here. At the end of the minute, I will tell you how many you got. Andrew's going to count the ones from the chat room as well. Are the two of you ready? You know the complaints. You've heard them. All right?
Yes.
Audience, are you ready? On your mark. Let's hear it. Top complaints of security by the business. Go, audience, go. Sandy and Aviv.
That would slow us down.
Okay, keep going. I won't tell you if you're right or wrong. I'm just going to mark them.
I can't get access to the site I want to go download a file from, or I've been sent.
Keep going. Aviv.
We won't be able to complete the project on time if we need to employ that control.
Okay, just keep going. Just you don't have to wait for each other.
I don't know how to send this file out to somebody because you've blocked it.
Okay. Keep going. There's lots more here.
I'm not. Who should I contact now when this file is blocked?
Okay, keep going. More complaints. You've only got 2 so far. Out of 10.
I can't download this application that I want to have access to. All right, I can't use this tool.
My wife has been.
What were you about to say? I'll let you squeeze it in.
My machine is cannot. Was wiped because of that. Never mind. That's
no.
Still.
Oh! Unfortunately, only 2 out of 10. Stop, chat room. You're done. Andrew, how many did the chat room get?
We've got 6.
Ooh.
Very good. The chat room beats you. You only got 2. Let me read the 10 here. Department of No are blockers. We heard that from you 2. Expensive. We did not hear that. Siloed. Always went with a handout asking for money. Know-it-alls. You know how the security people pretend they know everything? They don't solve our problems. Just slows us down. You did say that. I got that. You're too technical, or not technical enough. And you keep wanting more tools without fully using the ones you already have. And check boxes. You just write policy. You make me do things that don't make any sense.
Oh.
Yep.
All right. Congrats to the audience who won that round of shout first as well. All right, let's just go into the thing. We still have our bad idea poll. So at 40 minutes past the hour, that's in 7 minutes, we'll have the best bad idea 2 people. In fact, let me call that right now. This one I like a lot. Have a meeting about productivity, then have another meeting about that meeting, then tell everyone how not productive they were that day and have a meeting about that. Whoever posted that, please tell me now, because we want you on, because that's a great one. And then, let's see. There's another one that's voted up a lot. I'm not as big a fan of that one, but it seems a lot of you are. All right, well, I'm going to ask, I'm going to give you guys 2 more minutes to vote in to see if there's another one you want. But who said that last one? Hold it. We'll find out who said that last one. I'll pick the second winner in just a second. But let's go back to our questions. We got more questions that are coming in. I'm going to ask you this one, Sandy. This comes from Ian Pointer. So if we assume secure by default, which is what you want to do for your development team, What are good examples of this in a non-development sphere? And Aviv, I know your answer to this. Give me a good example in a non-development sphere.
Secure by default would be making sure that the emails and files that people are receiving from outside your organization are already filtered and they're only getting the good ones. Making sure that they have to be less concerned about what they click on so they can just do their job.
Good point. Aviv, I think you're probably going to echo exactly what Sandy said, yes?
Yeah, that's pretty similar, but I can add to that getting the documents with that minimal filtering, or the filtering need to be done so they can be productive. I would add to that because we talk about productivity here. This is one. But I think the second thing, that every file share, every file collaboration platform would allow people to work from day one. It will be easy to use, so we won't need that shadow IT thing and sharing documents through those gray platforms that we're not really sure whether we're stopping or monitoring at all.
All right, Kim Kennedy was that first bad idea that just came in, and I am going to pick the second bad idea. Well, it's good. You guys liked it. It was voted up. I'm going to pick the second one. It is getting rid of computers makes you more secure. So go back to typewriters and fax machines to improve security,
Right.
but maintain
Just unplug it from the
being
wall.
more productive in handwriting everything. Who said that one? Throw that one out.
That's a
you guys
terrible
love that one.
idea.
It's a terrible.
That's
It is
really
a pretty bad idea. It's a pretty bad idea.
Yes.
But that's Matthew Thompson. Okay, so Matthew Thompson, and we're going to have you on in 4 minutes. Matthew Thompson and Kim Kennedy. I want the two of you to come on. But before we get to that, let's get to our questions again. I want to talk about different angles of productivity. You talked about. So we talked mostly about two angles here: DevOps development, that. Making them more productive, and also just making people productive with their files and their email. We've heard that. Those are kind of the two ones. So let's just talk about the different angles we should kind of expand the way we think about productivity here. So I'll just throw out there's individual productivity, the security team's productivity, which we mentioned at the beginning of the show, interdepartmental productivity, third-party productivity. Right. What else am I not thinking about, Sandy?
Yeah. So one of the keys, I believe, is knowledge management. Mm-hmm. I mean, we go in, we come up with these great ideas. Everyone agrees this is how we're going to do it. Or as the business evolves and we keep changing things, I really believe that an organization that focuses on how they distribute knowledge and the evolution of knowledge, what we know, what we've learned from today's experience, and then capitalizing on it, mm-hmm. so that in 3 months, when we have the same situation again, we are able to go say, well, we solved this already. What did we do? Okay, let's go get that. So actually really managing your knowledge management and keeping it so everyone's contributing to it. I'm kind of creating your internal Wikipedia of knowledge. What makes our business run really well? Mm-hmm. Who do you have to talk to? What are the steps?
Yeah, good point. What would you add to that, Aviv?
So I think someone mentioned that on the chat, but having the process as self-service by the users, this is a tremendous productivity, has tremendous productivity impact. I can give you an example. Some of our customers, they blocking all password protected documents on their way in because most of the security solutions are virtually blind. It can do nothing, cannot really scan those password protected documents. So they found themselves always, getting those tickets to their IT help desk, asking to release those quarantine password protected documents. So we introduced a self-service portal. So if a user got a password protected document blocked by email, they can just release that. I mean, typing in the password, the documents being decrypted, is being reconstructed, scanned by Votiro, and then we delivering that to the user immediately. In that way, that self-service mode, there's no need of the security team to really screen all those blocked files, and the users are really happy, so they don't need to curse those security teams that's blocking all the files. So self-service, I think, can dramatically improve the productivity.
Yeah, right. Totally agree.
Self-service. Yes. And let me add to the self-service, which I've heard from my co-host, Mike Johnson. He said, once you make it personal, it can be very advantageous. And one of the things they do is they hand out password managers to all their employees to use for their personal protecting of their password management. So once they understand it for their personal needs, they understand it for the business. But, and I just heard this on a dinner that I had the other night, and by the way, anyone in the chat room, please echo if you can tell me the specific example of this if you've heard of it. A company actually got sued because the password manager company got hacked. And again, I don't know which password manager it is. They got hacked, and then the individual sued the company that gave them the password manager because it was the company property, because they were handed the property. I don't know the legitimacy of this or not. I just overheard it in conversation. If anyone knows where this source is, please let me know. All right, we are ready to play our next game. Can we invite on both Matthew Thompson and Kim Kennedy? They are going to be playing the What's Worse Challenge. They're going to go head-to-head to determine whose bad idea truly is the worst bad idea, one of going essentially seizing computers altogether or having meetings, endless meetings about productivity. That was Kim Kennedy's or Matthew Thompson's about the other ones. So both have accepted. Both are coming on right now. We have Kim Kennedy. There's Kim wearing her CISO Series jacket. You look awesome. And also Matthew Thompson as well, who I believe you also have a jacket as well, Matthew, yes?
I won too many early on and haven't won one since getting the jackets.
Oh, you have not? Oh, this will change. By the way, we do have a leaderboard, by the way, that we're going to be getting up very soon of the people who've won. And I bet you some of you can guess who are at the top two. The top two, by the way, are tied currently. All right. Matthew, I mentioned what yours is. That is unplug all computers and go to typewriters and fax machines. Kim is endless meetings about meetings for productivity. I want you to argue with Kim. Kim, argue with Matthew as to why yours is worse than their idea. Matthew, you first.
I'd say mine is worse because that's going back to the Stone Ages of having lines at the fax machine, and fax machines are unencrypted, but it'll get there. Phone lines are everywhere, so it'll help with your productivity. People will be able to use those systems, but definitely the communication collaboration slows down.
All right.
I hate your idea, but I do think it's worse than Kim's. As much as I hate meetings, I think going backwards to the 60s without computers is a terrible idea.
All right, it is a terrible idea, but I want Kim to have her chance to argue why hers is worse.
Well, for starters, I mean, you only have 8 hours in a day, so let's take up 6.5 hours of them with meetings talking about all the things we should be doing, and then talk about the training we're supposed to do and the things we're not supposed to do, and then talk about how we haven't met our goals at the end of the quarter so that we can get yelled at. So and then have a meeting about that.
So by the way, Sandy, you make a good point, but Kim here makes a good point of at least when you have the typewriters and the fax machines, you're actually doing work. In Kim's example, you're not doing work. Aviv, what's your feeling here?
Yeah, I feel it with Kim's awesome idea of talking about what we haven't done and talk about the talking. This is also, in terms of cost, it's very cheap to implement. Because we don't need to buy any fax machines, and this can be universally applied. So
split decision. So Aviv, you think Kim's is worse, and Sandy, you think Matt's worse. Yes.
And I'll just argue that in Kim's idea, even though when there's too many meetings, you're always multitasking. No one just sits in a meeting and listens.
Especially via Zoom these days. True. Very true. All right. Excellent points. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Kim, very much. Those are truly awful ideas, and I greatly appreciate their input.
Suggestions.
Yes. All right. Oh, the 10% poll is now up. Okay. So we have, finally got through. We looked at 6 really good tips for 10%. Please vote on them because we want to talk about those in just a moment. And we now have about 16 minutes left in our chat today. Please stick around, everybody, for our meetup at the end, which is a lot of fun. And also, if you haven't clicked the link at the bottom to register for next week's chat, please do that. By the way, if you register early, which means like now or before Tuesday, actually, you're automatically entered in a raffle to win an awesome CISO Series jacket. So why not just do it right now? Again, you're not going to be taken out of our chat. Let's go to some of our awesome questions that have come in as well. This goes to Stephen Watson, or his question, and he asks, what's your confidence level on your dev team being able to produce bulletproof code? What mechanisms do you deploy to layer security on top of dev tools to hedge your bet? So this is obviously a question for you, Sandy. I mean, bulletproof code, I don't think is ever a possibility.
Yeah, and this is...
It's like 100% security, but...
Right. Just implementing tools like SonarQube, plugging into the CI/CD so we have automatic testing. I mean, so before the code's even committed into the main, like putting all of the checks and balances in. So all they have to do is develop, like the actual testing, and everything that they're doing is secure by default. And we are in the process of designing that. It's not fully deployed, but my philosophy is better is better. Just like we were talking about, 10% better is 10% better. So you're always just trying to move the needle the right direction. If your goal is bulletproof code, you're never going to get there, and you'll always be disappointed, right? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Let me just see. Here we go. One of the 10% tips is get security involved with business processes to ensure you implement security within the process with user buy-in. This seems like right up your alley, Aviv. I think maybe the question is, how have you seen your own customers doing exactly that with your product?
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that I know that one of our financial institution customers did, they approached the business side and said, guys, we have a new product here that will reduce the number of documents that you're not receiving because they're being blocked or pushed into the spam folder. And the reaction was, are we having emails that we're not getting? They didn't even know that there's stuff that they don't getting. So when we explaining the opposite would see, we have a new product that will improve our security. Okay, but now we're telling the business we have a product that can do more stuff and faster. And I think that's a way better approach, and we'll get the buy-in of the business units.
More stuff and faster rather than making us more secure. Because when you say making us more secure, they don't see anything. But more stuff and faster, we see that. Very good point. I also want to mention, by the way, who said that last one? Who said that 10% tip? Please speak up. I'd like to give you credit. I want to also say this one about the password manager that I truly believe here. This is one of the 10% tips. And again, speak up if this is used. Deploy a password manager tool in your organization. This is one of the few things that both improves security and productivity. We don't talk about that enough. By the way, that was Jonathan Waldrop was the first one. We don't talk enough about that a password manager actually does make you more productive. Just think about the time it takes for you to remember your password, physically look up your password, physically type it in, and enter. I am a huge fan. Sandy, you're nodding your head. Yep. No, absolutely. And that goes back to just looking at your business processes and seeing where are they having challenges. And, I'll even go down and sit with somebody in customer service or go sit in a meeting and just listen and take notes and understand the challenges that they're up against. So to me, it's always about discovery, asking the 5 whys. Why aren't we faster? Where are the challenges? What can we do better? And, simple tools, checklists. If you're coming up with a new idea for a product, make sure you cover all of these things. So anything you can do to keep improving the process. Mm-hmm. One of the security tips here is when the new security leader comes into, by the way, Dwayne Grand was the password manager tip. Thank you, Dwayne. But this tip, when the new security leader comes into the organization, do a 30-minute meeting with each group to introduce yourself and set the tone that you're not here to stop them from doing things, that you're here to help them understand and manage risk. Sandy, again, you're nodding, and I'm going to want your take again, but I'm going to first go to you, Sandy. I'm assuming you did that, but how do you keep reinforcing that? Are you literally walking into each, or virtually now, walking into each line of business to have that kind of discussion with them? Yeah, you're inviting, just ask to be invited to their next team meeting. Get on their calendar and say, hey, I just want to come in and talk about security. And
And that's how you expand your security reach too. I mean, you're building out your security culture into the rest of the organization. You help them understand why this is important, why they need to do it, and then you're listening to the current challenges that they're having about security. What I've found is, even when I think I'm not talking in a technical language, or I'm explaining something from my perspective is as simple as it can possibly be. Even social engineering. I did a training where I was talking about social engineering, which to me seems like, hey, we're all talking about social engineering. It was a concept that they weren't familiar with. I said,
you know what the term they all know? A con man, being conned.
Yeah,
that's what social engineering
exactly.
is.
I had to actually explain what I meant by social engineering. So you always have to be listening, going in and talking, because you may think you're explaining it as easily, in easy to understand terms, but it's still not easy enough for them to understand.
Aviv, let me ask you, in the deployment of your product, does it change department by department, and maybe because like a certain department may have more sensitive files like a finance or accounting than others, or does your product get deployed uniformly?
Yeah, so we worked hard to get it compatible with all departments. I mean, we handling most of the business related documents, like Microsoft Office, the Excel spreadsheets for finance, but also PDFs for the HR, and Word document with the track changes for legal. So we look in the organization as a one unit, and we're delivering a solution that can solve the productivity problem for all of them.
But do they ever come to you and say something to the effect of, like, does finance have a different concern than the development team? I guess that's more my question. And then you have to say, oh, well, you want to take advantage of this versus you want to take advantage of that. I mean, are you having a different conversations with different teams, I guess?
Yes, that's definitely happens. I mean, for example, a financial unit or organization unit is saying, look, someone from security suggested that we may block all the macro-enabled documents that's coming into the department. And this is a disaster for them, right? They're still getting those macro-enabled documents. So we tell them, look, our solution can solve that problem. You'll still get your macro-enabled documents, but we're going to a safe version of those so we can work as expected and not having those being blocked or asking for favors to release or to whitelist some of the senders. So this is a discussion that we're having with the financial organization unit, and with some others, for example, with the marketing is saying, oh, we have our graphic documents that we're getting from vendors. We have PDFs with detailed information. So yes, we're allowing you to get those on time without thinking before you open those. And this is the main value. We're telling them just open any document you're receiving without the need to think twice, which is a unified message. But every business unit, they have the slightly different file formats that we are addressing.
Nobody's voted for this one, but I'm here. I'm clicking voting right now. Streamline online boarding processes for people and vendors. And I'm going to stress the vendors one. Actually, we had a guest on recently who has a very short vendor questionnaire. And we're looking at a different angle of productivity here. But because I mentioned third-party things. And his whole theory, you've seen these vendor questionnaires, they're endless. But do you really need to ask hundreds of questions to know whether or not they take security seriously? Like, can't you just ask a handful of questions? And that was his whole deal. Like, he has a one-page questionnaire, and his whole goal is who not to work with. Like, isn't that really the goal of, I just want to know who I shouldn't be working with, right, Sandy? Or Aviv, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to jump in. Look, I have, as a vendor that's working with enterprises, still have every week I have new scar here from a new vendor onboarding process that we need to go through, and there's no really one standard for that. So some customers, they sending Excel spreadsheets with tons of sheets and tons of questions that we need to manually fill in, which take a lot of time and sometimes are very confusing. When they need to get to R&D all over again to ask the same question but in different words, because they cannot really get that this is the same question, and this is terrible. I mean, in terms of productivity, that's how you reduce the productivity.
I'm sure that screeches you to a halt. I'm sorry, Sandy, I cut you off earlier. Go ahead.
Well, this is a whole nother podcast, but we're addressing this right now. And here's my big problem with the assessment questionnaires is they're time consuming and they don't add value. They actually don't reduce the risk. Because, there's questions like, do you have encryption? Well, where? Databases, websites, like that's a huge, that could apply to so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't questionnaire in the security quality. So just this week, Salesforce and Google came out with a product that they're calling minimum viable security.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an open source project that's trying to address this. That includes being able to test and do some other things. And it's also vendor specific. So a questionnaire that I'm asking somebody who's coming in and doing development for is a completely different, it has to be a different questionnaire for the people who are coming in and watering our plants. And the people watering our plants, there is risk associated with that. And I do have security questions I need to ask them, but it's not the same one for the company that are developing our software. So very big issue. Love to talk about it. We're looking at it within our team right now on how we expand third-party risk management to reduce the pain.
All right, let me get to, we're going to have to do the close right now because we were just a few minutes away. Hey, our next week's chat is hacking email security. Andrew, get ready to change the link at the bottom of the screen. It's an hour of critical thinking of alternate ways to protect messaging. If you have not registered already, click that link this very second because Andrew's about to change it. You can always go to CISOseries.com to register. And by the way, if you haven't been there, CISOseries.com had a major update. It looks spectacular now. Hey, huge thanks to Votiro. Thank you, Votiro, for sponsoring this video chat. We greatly appreciate you doing that. Thank you to Aviv and Gianna as well for making this all happen. Hey, guess what? In 90 minutes from now, that's 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, we do our cybersecurity headlines week in review. That is just a 20-minute show where we just cover 8 of the most important stories in cybersecurity that week. And our guest this week will be John Overbaugh, the VP of Security for CareCentrix. That is on LinkedIn on the CISO Series channel. So just go to CISO Series on LinkedIn and you will see that we do it every Friday, although we're not going to do it the Friday after Thanksgiving, but we do it most Fridays as well. Stick around for a meetup. Hey, guess what? That link is at the bottom right now. Go ahead and click on that now. That is our toucan area. It's a lot of fun. We'll have a chat over there and you just a series of floating bubbles and you click and connect to people and converse. So do not be shy. Join us for that. Tell all your friends to join us. We do this every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And do you want to sponsor a video chat? Guess what? Just email me at david@cisoseries.com. We're sold out for 2021, and we have sponsorships opening up in February of next year. So ping me back, and we will do that. All right. We just have a minute each, so I'm going to start with you, Aviv. Aviv, final comments about this topic of productivity, any pitch you'd like to make about Votiro or an offer to our audience as well?
Yes, of course. So first, it was really fun. Thank you, David. Thank you, Sandy. I think that the most important thing that I learned today is that we have a great audience, and we really need to think how we enhance the productivity, how we're not blocking stuff, how we're not being the bad guys, the bad cops. And with Votiro, we're enabling our customers to really have the employees open any document without the need to think twice. Either it's coming by email or download from the web or even upload to the application. Sandy mentioned secure coding of the client-facing applications. We serve customers like financial institutions, like insurance companies that allow clients to upload claims and any document and store it into the cloud native applications. We allow them to have everything safe and fully productive. So no one need to wait even 1 second, just have their work being done. So if you want more information, votiro.com, or just ping me. I will still be hanging around to answer.
Yeah, you'll be in the meetup later. Yes. Yep. You'll be in the meetup. Yep. That's it. And also just to contact you via email or via LinkedIn, what's the best way?
Yeah, LinkedIn, that works. And also aviv@votiro.com, that also works. I will write that on the chat as well.
Just put that in the chat right there. All right. Sandy, you got 1 minute. Give it to us. What's your final thoughts on this topic? And by the way, are you hiring at Blue Cross?
We are fully staffed right now. Thank you.
Phenomenal. I'm impressed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, fully staffed and making sure that my team is happy so they stay fully staffed. So
good. That's good to
a lot
hear.
of focus on that. Just thank you for the opportunity. This is a really important topic. If the business is not successful, it doesn't matter how good the security is. If the business is not successful, we all fail. Nobody has a job. So encourage everyone to make sure that you're building those relationships and making sure that the security team is the yes team.
Excellent point. All right. We have just 30 seconds left. I want to thank my guest, Aviv Grafi, who is the founder over at Votiro, and also Sandy Dunn, who's the CISO of Blue Cross of Idaho. And I also want to thank everybody in the chat room. And by the way, congrats, on winning the Shoutburst game that we had earlier. We're going to, by the way, we'll have more production around these. We're just testing out new games and seeing what works and having fun with it. You will expect to see lots of new games here on the video chat and also on our podcast as well. Anyways, click the link at the bottom of the screen. We want you to join us for the meetup. Thank you, everybody. Andrew, take us out.